16 personalities as untranslatable words. Not only are these words untranslatable, they're also very difficult to pronounce. I can't really wrap my British tongue around them, so to speak. So you will have to look at the screen to know which words I'm referring to. Also, please consider subscribing to the channel. You will only get 2 notifications per week from me, maybe less if I'm being lazy that week. If you're watching this video, then there's a decent chance you'll be interested in future videos as well. Does having more subscribers make a difference? I'm not really sure, but it is always nice to see numbers going up. ESTP. This is a Portuguese word that describes the art of improvising a haphazard but entirely sound solution or plan at the very last minute. It's the ability to disentangle oneself on the fly and pull victory from the jaws of defeat. Basically, it's being an ESTP. ESTPs are exceptional at getting themselves out of sticky situations precisely because they have ample experience being in them in the first place. They are quick thinkers who don't hesitate to take decisive and bold action when required. To me, this word captures the agile escape artist tendencies and the MacGyverism of ESTPs. ISTP. This is a Japanese word that's related to the acceptance of things that are fundamentally out of your control. An English equivalent might be something like the saying, "It is what it is." To me, that's quite an archetypical ISTP mindset. One that's realistic, pragmatic, and upfront about the realities of life. Why worry and waste energy on something you can't do anything about? Focus on things that you can actually impact and will make a difference. That is the mindset ISTPs tend to adopt. ISTJ. This is a Bulgarian word that means something along the lines of the art of doing everything slowly with no rush, enjoying the process and life in general. This isn't necessarily something that's associated with ISTJs, but they're at their best when in a slow-burning flow state, getting things done in good time, but not too much of a hurry. For them, life is deeply enjoyable when things are going to plan in a relaxed and leisurely way. ESTJ. This is a Danish word that is a combination of work and happiness. In other words, a sense of job satisfaction. ESTJs aren't always going to be people who are career-obsessed, but they are exceptionally task-oriented. Whether it's a huge project they've been working on, or a simple task around the house, nothing quite hits the spot for them like a job well done. INFJ. This word is from an African language of the Republic of Congo and is apparently very untranslatable. By that I mean, it doesn't have an equivalent word in other languages, but it can still be defined. It describes a person who is ready to forgive any transgression a first time, then to tolerate it for a second time, but never for a third time. I felt like that notion was comically reminiscent of the INFJ tendency to be highly understanding and accepting of people, but once those people have crossed certain boundaries, to door slam them. Now, I'm not sure to what extent INFJs even relate to that notion, but it's definitely the case that they can switch from deeply empathetic to completely closed off once someone crosses the line too much. ENFJ. This is a Korean word that describes the art of understanding what people are thinking and feeling. It roughly translates as I measure. The ability to size up the overall atmosphere of a situation. It's reading a room, quickly picking up on the social norms at play in a situation, and also the ability to take a hint that someone is giving you through subtle verbal and non-verbal cues. ENFJs, probably more than any other type, can enter a new and unusual situation, understand the dynamics at play, and adjust accordingly extremely quickly. They can pick up on an understated gesture, a subtle action that might be trying to indicate something. In this sense, ENFJs speak the universal language of human behavior fluently. ENTP. This is a Russian word that describes a person that asks too many questions. Specifically, I think it refers to an overly inquisitive child. And what could be more apt as a description for ENTPs? Curiosity is a strong driving force for them. After all, some of the most iconic ENTPs throughout history have been characterized by this trait. It underpins everything from their lust for innovative thinking and their challenging disposition in conversation. INTP. This is a Polish word that means to solve a problem or get around something, usually in a sneaky and clever way. In some situations even hinting at being illegal. Perhaps finagle would be a decent approximation in English. INTPs can often be mischievous problem solvers. People who find an exception to a rule or a flaw in a system and, should they wish, exploit those things. If you want to find a clever way around something, then INTPs might be the best type to go to. ISFJ. This is a Danish and also Norwegian word, but I think more common in the former, that also became something of a buzzword online at some point. In English, this is often described as a feeling of coziness and contentment. However, apparently, that's very simplified. It's more than just being comfortable or snug. It describes the mood of a situation, or even the state of mind you're in during those moments. It's quite a poetic word, it seems, one that tries to capture the feeling or state of being when things are just right. It's applicable to the kind of situations you might look back upon as deeply fond memories, special times. From what I've heard, like many words, it doesn't have to be used in a dramatic way. It can also be used casually, simply to describe certain enjoyable moments and situations. ISFJs are a type who adore that state of being, when there's a natural, comfortable, cozy, and content feeling. Not just because you're wrapped up in a blanket with a hot chocolate, but because things feel right on a deep level. Maybe it's through connecting with loved ones, or just in a peaceful moment of solitude. ISFJs love to fully lean into and embrace this feeling, and more than that, to be a source of it for others too. ESFJ. This is a Japanese term, often translated as form, but it also has a specific cultural meaning of the reality that everyone professes to be true, even though they may not privately believe it. This captures one of the main skills of ESFJs, to bring people together and create a socially smooth vibe. It's almost like signing people up to a social contract, an agreement that might even make people who would otherwise not get along with each other feel totally fine to relax and enjoy each other's company. This isn't just a social skill exclusively though, it relates as much to their ability to give people good and memorable experiences too. ENTJ. This is a Polish word that describes the ability to get something done, but with a slightly menacing or sinister edge. It can refer to using your contacts, connections, or charm to push something through and strong-arm something until you've gotten it done, even if that's in an unofficial way. I felt like this word captured the by any means necessary approach that ENTJs can sometimes adopt if the situation demands it. They're happy to play by the rules and make it a fair fight, but sometimes the rules can be bent or broken and put back together before anyone notices. INTJ. This is a Finnish word or concept that describes a kind of stoic resilience and toughness, the ability to face the difficulties of life, especially very harsh circumstances, and act rationally in the face of them. This word doesn't describe courage simply in the moment, but rather the power to sustain that courage and will to see something through. This kind of force of will is something that INTJs are known for. It can be a particularly brilliant combination, since unlike other types, who might have the same kind of mental toughness, INTJs combine this with direction and strategy. ISFP. This is a word that modern Greeks often use to describe doing something with soul, creativity, or love. It's when you put something of yourself into what you're doing, whatever that may be. ISFPs are known to be people who have, for want of a better phrase, a lot of soul. This is especially evident in the way they approach their passions and interests. If it's not something they resonate with, they won't pursue it. They can be ruthless in that sense, gravitating only towards things that elicit that fascination and light a fire within them. The intensity of ISFPs is so often left out of descriptions of them, but they are very much full-on kinds of people when they are invested in something. ESFP. This Hindi word conveys an intense desire to live life to the fullest. The word often refers to a person who lives with intense emotions and ambitious desires, seeking to thrive. ESFPs have a few different ways that this applies to them. One of the most straightforward and stereotypical is to embrace the sensory aspects of life through fun and excitement. The other is to live up to their ideals and values in a full and uncompromising way. ENFP. This Spanish term is traditionally used in flamenco music or other art forms to refer to the mystical or powerful force given off by a performer or perhaps even a work of art to draw in the audience. It can describe the moment during an artistic performance where something else seems to take over. A person is possessed in a way that's both somewhat demonic and seductive in equal measure. You could think of it as that person being in the mode of a muse. ENFPs are almost always performers in some form. This could be on stage, through music and comedy, in writing, or simply in conversation with others. When they're in that mode, or mood, it can indeed seem like they're channeling the artistic muse. Everything seems to flow effortlessly, and their audience, be that a crowd of people or just one person, are thoroughly enraptured. INFP. This is a Japanese concept that represents finding beauty in imperfections. It's a worldview centered on the acceptance of transience and even potential incompleteness. INFPs are people who are quite philosophical by nature. Their default worldviews often overlap with many belief systems, even though they might not subscribe to them or even know about them. They're also characterized by a level of resilience. This can show up in their capacity to see beauty, even in tragic situations. This isn't the same as blind optimism, but rather it's acceptance. As shown in the famous works of many INFPs, they're actually much more realists about the harsh aspects of life than they are idealists. If you want to give me a belated Christmas present, then please subscribe to the channel and feel free to like the video and leave a comment down below.